Put your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody's joining the crew. We got just one ring, let we rule them all. Hope would remember your call. Get your Uru feathers and your Middle guns. A sonic screwdriver or a sword +1. Use Valerian steel if it will get you to come. To the pit tank. To the pit tank. The Rocky Mountain pit tank.
Hi, I'm Guy.
Hi, I'm Troy.
And this is Geek Tank.
Your giant candelabra-sized podcast. Have different 8 candles in it. Because it is like in Hanukkah time, right?
Yes. Till
we're like
Friday, as a matter of fact.
Like just into the knee deep in Hanukkah.
It's the worst when you're knee deep in Hanukkah.
Mm-hmm.
You can wade out of it at that point.
Yeah,
though, I think there's...
It's not like being up Hanukkah Creek without a latka.
Right, exactly. It's more like a shallow creek. It's got a little bit of an undertow, but not a lot. Yeah.
It sounds like that could be a name of a TV series, Shallow Creek.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, could be.
Even think of the theme music right now.
Yeah. So Alex will be here a little bit later. He is helping a friend, as opposed to helping these friends.
Right.
We
know where we rate.
Yeah. Well, what we're doing is probably way less important than we don't need his help the way that the other situation could use his help better. But we definitely enjoy having him here.
Yeah.
So we were considering for tonight. I know we're still a little ways away. What were we, like 14 days away, 13 days away from Christmas Eve and Christmas? But talking about Christmas and pop culture, specifically related to like in shows that we like or Christmas related movies that aren't traditional Christmas movies, such as
Die Hard.
Yeah, Die Hard's traditional. It's not traditional. But like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So, yeah, John McClane versus Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
John McClane versus Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, coming to theaters. And I mean, really, honestly, this isn't a bad thought process because getting a jump on it's not so bad. I think we only have one more show this year.
Maybe, yeah.
And I'm allergic to you, apparently.
Well, we knew that.
But I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Christmas falls on a Monday, yeah?
Which would be our show. So we probably don't want to be doing a Christmas show.
That's what I was saying. I'm thinking this over, looking it over and thinking this, wow.
Other people probably have things they'd rather do than watch us.
I
mean,
yeah, and that like also because the first is always right after it. That means that this week will have to be our Christmas special, and next week will have to be our New Year's special.
But as evidence, there's a 0 right there. So obviously people have things they'd rather do than watch us because 0 viewers.
Well, this is our Christmas special. We just said that.
Yeah.
We just established.
Sure. Yeah, I saw an interesting take on Gremlins, which some people also consider a Christmas movie because it takes place during Christmas. But that the fellow who was selling the Mogwai actually has a sinister plan of destroying white America, because he sets it up in such a way that it causes all kinds of trouble, and then at the end of the movie, spoiler alerts, he collects Mogwai again, Gizmo.
Yeah.
To obviously repeat the cycle. So he's actually like an agent of destruction, as opposed to friendly supernatural shop owner who did you a favor by selling you this creature that caused all this trouble.
Right.
I thought that was kind of a neat take.
I actually can go with that. I'll buy that.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember even when I saw it at a younger age, I'm like, wait, it's always after midnight at some point. This rule doesn't make sense. It should be don't feed them during the peak of the moon or something, so that way it would track with them with whichever country they're in. But somewhere in the world, it's after midnight. So
after midnight, we're gonna let it all hang out.
Who knows how that rule went? And don't feed them. Somehow feeding them, yeah. Don't get them wet because somehow they multiply when they're wet.
Yeah, what is that? Is that like hydrosporosis? There's got to be a word for it.
But clearly, yeah.
Clearly,
but
it is something.
But I know we've covered the whole Die Hard thing before, back when Chelsea was on. So I think we were all in agreement that Die Hard's clearly a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I think that was even like a question asked. It was like, do you think the Die Hard's a Christmas movie? Oh, yes, I do. I
think for Chelsea it was like fighting words too. It's like, you want to fight me over this? So.
Yeah, I was like, no, not really.
We
I'm
agree
totally
with
fine
you.
with it being a Christmas movie. No, like I didn't.
Yeah. I mean, it's so much a Christmas movie that now this will be the second year that my family is going to continue the tradition we started last year of doing Pie Hard, which is where we watch at least the first Die Hard movie and have pie.
I like Pie Hard.
So it's and it will fall, of course, during a week of leading up to Christmas, since it is a Christmas movie. So
fair.
So yeah, that'll be happening in place of our D&D game for Christmas Eve. For whoever wants to show up for that.
That'd be me. I'm going to definitely show up for that.
I like shooting terrorists. And I'm all out of terrorists, so I'm just going to eat this pie.
I mean, I'm like trying to make this work in my head here. Yeah, I'm kind of a...
Let's see. I'm trying to think of other movies, because obviously there's all the movies that everybody likes that's definitely Christmas movies. Like there's no argument about Nightmare Before Christmas being a Christmas movie.
Pretty much straight up, yeah. That's good. Good point.
Let's see. I remember back before we could even record shows, it was kind of a scheduled TV thing that it was a tradition to watch Rudolph and Frosty and all of those things, Peanuts, Christmas, because there was the one time a year that you could watch it. And if you didn't catch it, then you have to wait till next year to watch it.
Right. I do remember that being a thing. And moreover, kind of thinking about that, like I was thinking about the animation of it, and it's just sort of a classic. I mean, okay, so for one, Rudolph is very classic because that is that old claymation style. Mm-hmm. But the Charlie Brown specials are also a very interesting old cell style that it's interesting to see them still continue on today, And I find that like that's still relevant in some way. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Like it's interesting that people are willing to look at it and go, oh, okay, that makes sense.
I notice my guys don't have any tradition like that, though. They don't care about any Christmas specials. With the exception of one of my kids really likes Home Alone, which is probably as much a Christmas movie as Die Hard is. So
yeah, that's fair.
What was that? Yeah, that's unrelated, so I'm not going to bother with that. In any case, but yeah, I haven't watched any of those ode specials for years now, just because I think them simply being available at the touch of a button has made them less desirable to watch somehow.
Yeah, actually, I'm now kind of like, well, let's see here, because I thought I just saw them.
They did just run them on over the weekend, I think.
Well, no, I mean, as in I saw them on one of our services.
Oh, probably Paramount for Charlie Brown stuff.
That's what I'm looking for right now.
And it's a
on
good guess.
Paramount even as we speak.
Since I know Paramount's your bread and butter, being the home of Trek.
Yeah.
Have they done a Christmas special for every iteration of the series of Trek?
So oddly, there aren't really Christmas specials.
Well, I mean, they've had at least some.
There's, I mean, like...
Uh-oh. Are we on Facebook? Well, we're obviously on Facebook. You're watching it. I wonder why Facebook didn't cast the notice.
Huh. That is kind of interesting.
Oh, maybe it's because I started it, but you created it. You created the channel?
I said it for all three.
Oh.
It says we're rolling on Facebook. You are live.
Okay. Well, I don't know why the announcement didn't go out.
Brent, So that's actually kind of an interesting thing. So Star Trek has a kind of it's kind of hard to explain, but the thing about Star Trek is this: Roddenberry was notoriously agnostic and or atheist, depending on how you look at it. So his thing was he constantly liked trying to kind of investigate God and things like that as sort of an outside viewer looking in.
Which is evidence of the first movie.
Right. So because of that, the religious holidays very rarely show up. The only holidays that we've seen in Star Trek really have been Halloween, mostly. And Thanksgiving was referenced twice. So but Christmas has only been brought up in the Star Trek Generations movie. It's the only time that we...
Oh, yeah, because it's he's
kind of...
Picard sitting there with his family kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that now.
In the Nexus.
Yeah. Whereas on like that, if you miss a Doctor Who's Christmas special, you missed major plot points.
Major plot points. Yes.
Which
You're not wrong.
Always found it funny because you think a Christmas special is going to be the one-off where it doesn't matter if you catch it or not or in order.
So yeah, it's always been kind of an interesting thing in my book.
Trek never went with that. There was an X-Files episode that had Lily Tomlin and Ed Eisner in it, and that was their Christmas special.
Did you not gonna lie? That sounds pretty awesome. Actually.
Yeah, they both play Christmas spirits, so it's one of those that's a lot of fun to watch.
I feel like I've seen it,
and it's like I was expecting. Like with most Christmas things, you don't have to see it. You don't have to see the other episodes to know anything about it and that. So yeah,
that's pretty true. It's true. It's a true thing. So anyway, it is interesting when people decide to do that. And I think the other reason, by the way, that Star Trek doesn't generally do Christmas is because it is only one of many cultures' things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and since Kirk and Spock were Jewish, it didn't make more sense they do a Star Trek comic.
Yeah, well, Bill Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, Kirk and Spock were not, but
Kirk and Spock. But since the actors are, and there's so much crossover with stuff, because I believe you're the one who told me the story about how the Vulcan hand symbol came from something that Nimoy saw
from Nimoy. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, so that's typically that kind of thing, and of course. The only real Star Wars thing we've ever had was the Star Wars Christmas special, which apparently is video non grata. Although I think
you can watch it. You can watch the entire thing on YouTube. Yeah, it's if you want to see many of the actors completely stoned out of their minds, then it's worth it for that.
Is that also why nobody likes it?
I think nobody likes it because of the whole Earth Day with the Wookiees. Because instead of Christmas, it's Earth Day or Life Day. Sorry, Life Day. And I don't know. It's just really disjointed, and there's moments where it's like the equivalent of dead air for like minutes, where it's just stuff going on. They don't translate the Wookiees, so when the Wookiees are having conversations, it's just a group of Wookiees having a conversation. Yeah.
All day long.
Yeah. But it was the first appearance of Boba Fett, so nobody had seen Boba Fett until the Christmas special. So because it came out before Empire, and Fett's not in the New Hope, so it's they did a whole thing with a Melloway contest to get the Boba Fett figure, which came with the launching rocket backpack, which is now one of those things that never hit the market. So you have to find the prototypes if you want one. And they're up to like $20,000-$30,000 or more.
Right.
But that's because as it was being made and before it hit market, the Battlestar Galactica Viper and the
And
Cylon,
Cylon
one.
Raider.
Some kid choked on one of the missiles that got launched, and all of a sudden Kinner was like, we can't sell a toy that launches little plastic pieces because
anymore.
We don't want to have that happen to us. So
right.
Yeah, he was a cartoon in it. He wasn't even in it in person. His first appearance was as a cartoon, as Brent is saying, riding some creature and hitting it with a weird sand person style weapon or something like that. And he had more lines in the Star Wars Christmas special than he did in Empire Strikes Back. So
Boba Fett, where? I mean, yeah, no. Just the thing. Just kind of, go in there. So yeah, I'm intrigued by all of these various things. I think also kind of taking oh yeah, after you shot them, those missiles were gone, McGonny pants. It's so true. That's the thing, is what's so interesting is the Vipers are such a classic design. And it's a Ralph McQuarrie, and that's such a classic design. So are those Cylon Raiders. The thing's kind of sad about it, of course, is that the new version redid the Cylon Raiders, and I'm kind of like, aw, yeah, don't do that. The Cylon Raiders were pretty cool. So, but
I just double checked. Yeah, the Star Wars. Started anyway. Yeah, for free you can watch the entire 1 hour and 39-minute long Star Wars holiday special from 1978 with no commercials on YouTube if you've decided you want to punish yourself for some reason. But it's there. And there's also, I'm trying to see if there's any more information about this, but there's, I guess it's either already out or coming out very soon, a documentary that examines the whole Star Wars holiday special and asks why. Why it wasn't made into that. So that might be more fun to watch than the actual special itself.
Did Stargate do Christmas episodes? That's the thing. I feel like Stargate could have gotten away with it a lot easier. I mean, I don't know.
I didn't watch Stargate, so I don't know. Buffy did Christmas special, at least one. I can't remember what it was called. I'll have to look it up if I'm going to tell people what it was.
That's fair.
Actually, what other? Yeah, I think it's every season of Doctor Who does Christmas special, or at least from the Eckerson on. I don't know about before that. Let's see. Oh, okay. So Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 3 episode 10 Amends was where angels haunted by the ghosts of those he killed as Angelus. So it's the ode haunted by the Christmas spirit kind of thing. But there's a ton of shows I just don't watch that, of course, did Christmas specials.
I'm like sitting there going, well, who else do I know made Christmas specials? I mean,
Batman the Animated Series. That was a great one. Christmas with the Joker. That was actually the second episode in season 1 of the animated series.
Yeah. I mean, like, you're right about, like, Doctor Who. It's pivotal. But all of these other ones, usually the Christmas episode's kind of just sitting out there.
It's there because it's Christmas.
Yeah. Yep. It's a thought. Buck Rogers tried to introduce Christmas. He also tried to give everybody hamburgers, as I recall. But they had a little bit too many scales. Because it was not just him, but at that point in time, at the end of first season, they had brought in Gary Coleman because there just wasn't enough star power, apparently, and they were worried about dropping ratings, so they found another kid from the 20th century, Gary Coleman, And so they brought him in. And so both of them decided to figure out how to make hamburgers, as I recall. And they could only find a certain type of lizard that tasted right. So it was lizard meat.
So it looks like there was a Stargate episode called Holiday that was somehow connected to Christmas. Yeah, I didn't see much of the series. I just remember in the movie when they had the one kid die, and my friend and I were like predicting it the entire movie. It's like, yeah, that kid's gonna get killed. And when it happened, we're like, yep, that was predictable.
We knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. I heard the series was better than the movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Eureka. That was a good show. I forgot about that one. It was like the comedy version, more comedic version of X-Files in a way. Let's see, do you have any thing that you try to watch specifically every Christmas, guy? Any special or show or movie? Or is it just
I'm trying to think, because there isn't anything specific that I watch. One of the things about being neurospicy is I tend to not notice that the holidays are upon us until they are upon us. And then I notice them. And even like things like here, we're talking about Christmas and nobody's missing Christmas. And it's not like I'm going to be, but as soon as we're done with this show, I'm going to forget we were talking about Christmas and just move on to whatever needs to be done tomorrow, because tomorrow's Tuesday, And so kind of the one day at a time thing lends me to forget the overall spirit of things. So I did really love to watch the Peanuts specials and and of course Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph. When I was younger, I really loved those. It wasn't the season until I'd seen all of those. So, but as an older person, no, not really.
Yeah. I feel like I carried that tradition with me up until shortly after, or just before DVDs came out. So we were like really into the swing of VHS. And so having it available at any time you want somehow took away some of the magic of having to catch it when it came out for me.
Yeah.
It's funny that I never heard of Nestor, the long-eared Christmas donkey, because it came out at that same time period. I was the target audience. I don't know how I missed it.
Weird.
But yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. It's like, I hate to be like that kind of person who's like, I don't remember holidays, because I don't hate holidays at all. I actually rather like them.
You just haven't had any memorable ones, apparently.
Yeah, I'm like thinking about this. I'm like, I don't really, and it has a lot to do with the fact that it's like walking into another room. After I'm done with something where we're talking about holidays, if I don't put it in the calendar, actively do this thing on this day.
Mm-hmm.
My sister, on the other hand, is absolutely obsessed with Christmas, generally speaking. So I feel like she makes up for both of us.
Maybe, and has she always been that way?
Yeah.
So it might have been one of those things that because it was such a her thing, it kind of didn't feel like you needed to be that much more involved in it because she was running everything.
Yeah. Yeah, you may be right. I mean, it might be, I didn't need to worry about it because between my sister and my mom,
your mom,
there was enough holiday cheer to go around. But even now, I'm like, we were supposed to have put up the Christmas tree this last weekend, and I forgot completely to do that. And I don't have roommates right now that are conducive to that because both of them are neurospicy. And so all three of us can't possibly remember anything.
Mm-hmm. Actually, sometime a couple of years before having kids, my entire interest in Christmas trees just evaporated.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. It's just one of these things where it's like I could care less about Christmas trees. But there was a point where I thought they were cool.
We have a permanent Christmas tree. It's made of plastic. But I keep it assembled now because I've been collecting Star Trek Hallmark ornaments that
Mhm.
need to be plugged into the tree strip, the string of lights. And if you string them up before you put the string on, then they don't work. You can't get them around the tree, and then if you don't do that, then you have to go hunting down which light is missing a bulb so you can plug it just becomes a pain. And our tree is only like one of those little 4-foot trees, so it's not a very big one anyway. So instead we just put it in the basement and just set it on something, and we'll pull it back out and set it on something, and then poof, it's done. So
yeah, for convenience sake, leave it as is.
Yeah.
I know some people like when to decorate the tree, the whole process and the time consumption of it is part of the ritual for them. And so you probably drive those kinds of people crazy because like, you just wasted that whole opportunity. It's like, yeah, I saved myself a headache. That's what I did.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those. It's weird. There are a lot of things that happen at this time of year that make me just go, In Japan, Christmas, of course, is much more like Valentine's Day. And so it's very interesting. Yeah, right. It's just extra tinsel for George.
Oh,
George will not only attack it, but eat it, and then he'll poop it out. And then we'll have.
If he's lucky, he'll poop it out. Tinsel kills cats.
Yeah.
So it gets binded up. It can bind up in their intestines and stuff.
Yep.
So that's your PSA. If you have cats, don't use tinsel.
Your cat tinsel.
Don't feed your cat tinsel. Only your dog. No, just kidding. Don't feed dogs tinsel either. Or chocolate. Don't feed dogs chocolate.
Yep.
Haha, I derailed you. So Christmas is like what in Japan?
Oh, it's more like Valentine's Day in Japan, which I find fascinating. You exchange cakes with your loved one. So
your romantic loved one.
And for reasons that are bizarrely complicated, you exchange Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Serious?
Which I wish I was making that up. I'm not. KFC is the thing to do at Christmas time. So much so that we made the mistake of trying to go to KFC during Christmas time. And that was just like, whoa. So it was bizarrely bizarre. Yeah, and it's true. The family holiday in Japan will always be New Year's, which in my mind's eye makes a lot more sense. Because really all of these holidays are all about the dark days of winter and shedding light in the darkest time of the year. Overall, that's the point. They're all solstice things. So,
well, before I go into this, since we're at that time, instead of exchanging cakes, one thing you could do is exchange stuff from our sponsors with your loved ones and such.
We could, but you have to wait for a second because I've got to edit it.
Okay, I removed it. In that case, I'm going to this because I had to look this up. So around December 25th, families gather around the table to eat a bucket of fried chicken for the occasion, something that would be all but incomprehensible in countries with Christian foundations, where Christmas is generally fast food free, is what it says. Orders of buckets of deep fried drumsticks and breast can be placed from early November, and even then you'll have to wait in the massive queues from that form outside of KFC across the country on Christmas Day itself to pick one up. And then looks at why. Turns out the entire thing can be traced back to one man, Takashi Akawara, the enterprising manager of the first KFC in Japan, opened in Nagoya in November 1970. The company line is that Akawara had a dream about selling a party bucket full of chicken and started a one-store campaign to boost sales. The reason why he had the dream in the first place, he allegedly overheard an expat saying that they missed eating turkey for Christmas and that chicken was the next best option during the festival season. Whatever the case, his venture came to set the tone for Christmas in Japan for decades to come. So
It's a Godzilla story.
yeah, the bucket is all decorated with Christmas with a wreath
Oh, yeah.
around KFC's
It
head.
is ridiculous. It is insane. And it's such, especially for someone who was blindsided by that is such a remarkable left turn that it literally just renders people speechless for a few seconds. Like, it sounds like a joke.
Yeah.
You know, it's Christmas time. Everybody has to go out and get Kentucky Fried Chicken. What? You know, oh yeah, all the Japanese people do it.
Yeah.
Whoa. What? I mean, it literally sounds like such a ridiculous thing. So,
and they have a Colonel Sanders dressed as Santa Claus. I don't think that's a mask. I think that's a statue.
Yes.
Out in front of it.
They usually have a little Colonel Sanders statue in the KFCs.
I wonder how crazy they would go if it's like, I'm from Kentucky and I can make fried chicken.
Right?
Would you like authentic?
Well, that's what needs to happen now. Is you need to make fried chicken for Christmas, just so that we can add it as part of that. Because you are from Kentucky, and therefore it could be Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
At that point. On that note,
yeah. Did you have it fixed? You do.
Geek Tank is sponsored by the Massage Wizard, Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, and
your mom. You need to add another comma in there.
I need to.
Because Kieran Games is not the Massage Wizard.
Kieran Games, the Massage Wizard. It's because it's on two different lines.
But yeah, I did not go to. I don't think any of us went to the DakuCon, and I think that was last weekend. I think
it was. Yes, saw a lot of our buddies there at DakuCon. I think we probably should try to go to DakuCon. We don't usually go because they call it the 18 plus con, but it's not really 18 plus as in they only sell hentai anime. It's 18 plus as in we're not going to make the entire con child safe, which I can't argue with.
Yeah. I feel like they started just before the pandemic hit, or like maybe 1 year before that, and that was the reason we ended up not going, is because we didn't really make that connection, and then all convention attendance went to hell. And now that we're out of that, yeah, we should establish a connection there and see if they'd like to have us come hit that. Speaking of, I need to follow up, but I did get an email asking us to look at some of our work that we've done at other conventions, and they might want us to come down to Cosign in Colorado Springs.
Cosign would be awesome.
Which I don't even know when that's happening. I should look that up.
It's right off the front of the year. That's February.
Do they put a space between Cosign?
No. Cosine. And you might want to put Colorado Springs.
There we go. Yep, January 19th to 20th. So it's not... We have a couple of weeks. It's not having to hurt ourselves trying to do that. But yeah, that looks like that will probably happen. We just need to figure out... I'm going to guess Saturday, possibly Sunday would be the only day that would be attending.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we're big enough that we could warrant even hinting at them getting us a room for a podcast.
Yeah, no, probably. I feel like Cosign feels more like Mile High Con in structure and design, but this is coming from just hearing things about it. I've never been there.
Yeah, it's
I actually was thinking about tabling there because I did very well at Mile High Con, oddly. And so I think that it would behoove me to be at Cosign and Mile High Con and sell comics. So
Cosign has been held in Colorado Springs since 2004 and features numerous sci-fi and fantasy authors, artists, and fans, as well as panels, art shows, author signing and reception, gaming, science and technology, dealer's room, kids programming. I guess you can go program a kid. Liquid nitrogen ice cream, but not liquid nitrogen kids, and more. That's at the Embassy Suite.
No, if you do that with your kids, you have to put them in there and then have them stuck like.
Yeah. But that's at the Embassy Suites by Hilton, Colorado
Yep.
Springs. That will be January 19th through 21st. They have guest of honor Catherine Asaro, award-winning author of Saga of the Scolian Empire. That sounds familiar. I know I haven't read it, but it sounds familiar. Artist guest is Jim Humble. I don't know if you know that person. Since you're an artist,
but I hear he's, humble.
So the creator of the TRS-80 personal computer will be there.
You know what?
Lindbergh.
The little Tandy 80, I'm in.
That's an interview you should do.
I love the Coco. My first computer was a Coco 2.
Special guest Courtney Willis, who has, in quotes, Dr. Science. I don't know.
I know a Connie Willis.
This is Courtney.
Yep.
Oh, there's also Connie Willis. I bet
she's an author.
Yeah, sci-fi grandmaster. I'm gonna guess that they're probably related.
They probably are. Seems like a thing.
But not to
Courtney is Connie's daughter.
Yeah, not necessarily profile last names, but I'm profiling last names. Not like Smith. But yeah, I'll send them some links to our previous work and see if they'd like us to come down there and do any interviews or cover any of the convention.
Sounds good to me.
It's cosine COSINE, not COSIGN. You're not cosigning for a loan.
But also because it's cosine like a tangent. And speaking of tangents, Hexacon is also early on in the beginning of the next year, and that's a gaming con here by Shiny Garden, and that's another one that we are rather particularly fond of.
Yeah,
a bunch of our peeps, and it's a gaming con.
It's a gaming con. It's not a convention of really angry witches casting hexes on people.
Or gaming con is when they try to fool you into buying venison, and you're really just buying beef.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's coming up as well. Another con that I think is great to go to. I have no idea what my schedule is, so you may be on your own or with Alex.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
I'll try, but I really need the hours, so I tend to load up my weekdays. So
I haven't sent in my availability yet for January. So now that I know these dates, I can make sure not to say I'm available for those dates.
Right.
So that way I will at least be available to go hit Hexacon then, because I'm making more money selling Legos on eBay than I am for my job.
Yeah. I like my job though.
It is a fun job.
I like doing the job. That's
yeah, and I know our regular viewers know this already, but for anybody new, both Guy and I are driving instructors, and I was a driving instructor before I had a kid, and then when I had a kid, I stopped being a driving instructor, and then Guy became a diving instructor, a driving instructor, and convinced me to come back into the fold of the world of teaching kids not to crash.
Right.
So second time I've ran 7 and 8. And that's when we do the permit test.
Yep.
First time I did it, every single student of mine passed. 3 of them had to take it a second time, but those 3 passed. This time, I can't remember the exact number, but a handful of kids did not pass even on the second try.
Wow.
And I felt bad as an instructor. I felt kind of like I failed them somehow. And it's like, and I had to keep telling myself, no, I covered everything. 20, no, not 20. It was 17.
17. Statistically, I find that out of every 10, I will typically have 1 to 2 that will have to retake. And generally, I don't have retakes unless the kid was not paying attention. But I can, and this may be just teacher smell, like I have actual real classroom experience, so like I can sense it when the kids just checked out, and I try to engage them in class 1 and 2, and then if they're still checked out in 3, I'm like, well, got a 50-50 on that one as to whether he's going to pass it all. So
I rarely get the same kids from class to class since they don't.
Well,
put
and
me
if that's the case, if
consistently.
if they're jumbling it up, that makes it even worse. So if you've run a complete run, though,
Mm-hmm.
that's
You can usually tell by the time you get to those last
by the
classes.
time I get to 7 and 8, I'm like, yep, those two. And it's usually really sad. Like I had one where it was a girl and she was sharp as a tack. She was really smart. She was so smart that she thought she already knew it all. And so she checked out right off the bat. She had a hoodie on with headphones on underneath it. She wasn't listening. She was drawing, and she failed both times and could not believe it. She would not believe it, and I'm like, I can't help you. We literally cannot talk during the test. There is nothing I can do to help you.
Yeah.
Which is why when I keep saying I got bribed the other day, and I'm so excited about this because I make the joke all the time that I'm bribable. If you've got dark chocolate with mint, I am totally a bribable teacher because our quizzes aren't graded. So since we don't grade the quizzes, if you fail the quiz, I'll tell you passed all you want.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. And I have nothing to do. There's no way I can influence the final test. So it's a joke, and they know it. The kids know it, which is why when one kid came up to me and said, I just want to know what 14 down is on the damn crossword puzzle. I will bribe you with this Kit Kat. I'm like, I will happily do that. I would have done that without the Kit Kat, but I shall accept your bribe. Because I like those duos. Those chocolate duos, the mint chocolate duos, man, those are good. So
yep. The first time around, one of my retakes, she answered every question right during our open questioning. I thought for sure she was going to ace the test. It's one of those where and it wasn't that she was not listening and paying attention to class. She was like the perfect student. Somehow missed that.
Well, I one thing I very rarely have is no missed questions. However, I did at one class up in Westminster, which was a large class, 20, 21, 22 kids. I had this one person who, usually in class 1, I'm like, hey, I'm neurodivergent, which means I sometimes ramble and go off on tangents. I apologize ahead of time. I have got everything timed out so that I know not to do that. And they came to me during the lunch break and said, I'm glad you said that because I'm neurodivergent as well. And if I need to go outside and just take a break because there's a lot of people in here, you'll understand. I'm like, do it, man. Just go. You don't need to say anything to me. You and I can just lock eyes and it'll be okay. And at the end of the class, they were the only one that got a perfect score. First time, every question. And it was because they were neurodivergent and they were 19 and they didn't have to be in the 30 hour. They took the 30 hours so that they could get the discount on their insurance. And so they didn't have to be in the 30 hour at all. They didn't even have to take the test. Well, they had to take the test, but they didn't have to.
They just roar. I think at that 19, you don't even need the 50 hours, right? You just do permit.
You don't need the 50 hours. You don't need anything. You can just go down there and you take the test and you go down and get your license. But they aced it, and I've seen that so rarely. I see a perfect score so very rarely, but they tunneled. I could see them hyper focusing. They took the driver's manual and memorized it, that sort of thing. And the driver's manual is only 35 pages. It's not that hard to memorize the whole thing if you are hyper focused and you're letting your hyper focus and your ADD take over. But
the thing I try to tell the kids is like, my big point is if there's a question that you missed that you didn't get and you don't fully understand why you didn't get it, once you know the right question, let me know, because it's more important to me you understand the why behind the answer, because once you understand why that's the right answer, no matter how the question's worded, you're going to know the right answer, as opposed to just trying to remember some phrase or something. You'll get the whole thing. So it's fun. I definitely was like super freaked out the first time doing 7 and 8. I thought it was going to be really hard. Having made it through it once, next time around is easy.
I find the hardest part of 8 is
the hour.
No one can talk or pull out their phones or put anything on the desk until everybody is done with the test.
Mm-hmm.
That is hard.
Well,
not for me per se, but for the kids. They can't say anything.
I just kick them out of class. I just tell them, you don't want to come back in here. If you hang out there in the hallway or outside, you can be on your phone. Can't do that in here. That
actually was a problem I had when I was younger.
Interesting.
I would remember the plots of books, so I couldn't reread them because I'd come, and I think I still have this problem today. I would go back and reread it, and by chapter 2, I remembered how it ended, and I remembered all the characters who died, and all the characters that didn't die, and what happened to this person, and what happened to that person. I was like, eh.
I remember
my mom would always reread.
Your mom.
Stuff. She would constantly reread books, and I'm like, I don't know how you do that. She's like, well, I've forgotten what happened. I'm like, I don't forget anything.
Tara's in that same boat, and that's the same way with TV shows. It can be like 4 or 5 months later, and she'll be like, I don't really remember very much about the show, so let's watch it again.
Fair.
Whereas I can be like, I saw that once in 83, and let me recite some of the lines for you. The worst part is I'll see a commercial, and I got to the point where I hated watching commercials because during the movie, my mind will place where that commercial is going to be, and it will spoil something because I know certain events aren't going to happen until I see that scene from the commercial.
I do know that it is loosening up as I get older. When I was younger,
going to the bathroom,
teenager, and in my 20s, it was pretty much a given. I could remember everything. But like you guys were talking about The Expanse, and you were talking about things, and I'm like, that's right, that did happen. But I don't remember what happened next.
Well, I think part of that, you read the book, though, too. And I'm sure there's some
crossover. I watched the series.
Yeah. So the two together, I'm sure there's enough differences that throws you off a bit.
Yeah.
And I also said that once you have kids eat your memory.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think you're right. You know what else I think happens? I think when you have kids, they take your memory away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the short term. So,
especially the short term.
Yeah.
I'm like, how far can I go with this joke?
I have kind of a thing too, where with certain books, I ended up, it was our friend Sonny. Which book was that? I can't remember. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but it was a book by a famous author. I won't say their name. I got like 3 chapters into it, and I said to Sonny, it's aliens, isn't it? And he went, how do you know? I'm like, it just seems obvious to me that the big twist is going to be aliens. And it's like, I don't want to read this anymore. But yeah. So do you have anything specific you'd like to watch for Christmas? Or nothing really jumping out at you as you're going to care whether you watch it or not?
Kiddo wants to watch Home Alone.
Hey, we should arrange a Home Alone thing since that's one of Victor's favorite movies for watching around this time.
Maybe we should make it a deal because I remember Home Alone and remember being moderately entertained by it, but not excessively so.
Yeah.
So
A Christmas Carol used to be a standard for me every year, and I got to a point where nobody else but me wanted to watch it, so I stopped watching it.
There are a couple of Christmas carols read by Patrick Stewart, and so he does the voice in Nightmare Before Christmas.
I'm sorry? He does the narration in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes, he does. Yeah. Well, and it's just such a wonderful. I mean, Captain Picard's voice will always be a calming thing in my universe, but no matter what, it's just nice to hear he does his interpretation, and that's all kind of good. I do believe they even pulled that in at one point in time with Data being Scrooge on the holodeck, which was entertaining because he got to go humbug, humbug, I tell you, humbug. It's kind of fun. So, I'm trying to think. I know that there were definitely, like, in our family, we had all of these musical things that we would watch. Because Mom was really into
probably like a White Christmas.
Yeah, we had to watch a White Christmas. That was required. But it was also things like, I can't remember who, but we would have like a couple of them who comedians or musicians Christmas special. I think we had, come on, I just had his name and I lost it.
Bing Crosby?
No, Carnival. Oh, come on. Who did the Deo song? Deo.
Oh,
Deo. Right?
yeah.
Right?
Now you did it to me.
Face.
Harry Belafonte?
Belafonte. That's it.
Okay. Cool.
Thank
I didn't have to look it up.
And we had his Christmas special of some sort, which he did, and that was fun too. And I mean, like in 1960 or something. Recently, he passed away too. I just found that out. I mean, like, it was interesting because I had just thought, I wonder what happened to Harry Belafonte, and then looked him up, and he's still alive and still doing blah blah blah. And then, like 5 days later, Harry Belafonte passes away at 172, or whatever, because he was like ancient. And I was like, wow, because Mom was watching him in like the 40s or whatever, and I'm like, geez, he was pretty that old. So, but cool. I liked him. He had a whole lot of energy. Anyway, Christmas was weird at our house. There are interesting traditions. So Mariah's family had the 3 wise guys, where they take the wise men and they would move them around the house. So, like, if you found the wise men, you were supposed to move them to another hiding place. And it couldn't be so bad that no one else could find it. It had to be good enough that people could reasonably find it. And when you found it, you were supposed to move them again. And so it was a fun game of moving them. Well, my mom had these pewter figurines that weigh like a freaking ton, of like 3 monks that are carolers, and she used to have those sitting around, and I think she got those in New Orleans. And we've decided those are our wise guys. So they move around. Yeah, nice. He did. Just 5 days or 6 days after I went, I wonder what happened to Harry Belafonte. He passed away. It was really freaky for me, because it was like, I looked him up on Wikipedia. He was still alive and kicking. And I was like, well, that's cool. And then like 5 days later, it was news. He'd passed away. And I was like, I hope I didn't do that. Like, look up Troy Fleur. Yep. Okay, Troy.
No, not yet. I haven't finished our role-playing game.
Right, it's Death Note.
Nobody's going to know what happened. So I want to rewatch a movie I've watched only twice now, called Krampus. It was 2015. It's a really dark comedy kind of horror movie about the Krampus. Right. And it's got a lot of good humor and a lot of good horror in it. There's a few too many jump scares that I wouldn't recommend it for you without me there to help you. Especially when the demonic gingerbread guy comes jumping out of the fireplace on flames. So.
Yeah. I'm not. Yeah. I can already sound like it. You're already you're selling me against it.
But it's funny. It's very funny. And then I recently found out that John Woo has a film that came out called Silent Night, which is supposed to be more in the following kind of along in the lines of the revenge, hardcore violence, gun stuff, but takes place during Christmas, because why not?
Right. So. Donald brings up a point, which is called. There's a movie about this called On a Midnight Clear, and it's with. Man, I'm having a problem with names tonight.
Sure. I'll look it up for you.
He played. He played Mattingly in Apollo 13.
Ethan Hawke?
No, Ethan Hawke. It's
Gary Sinise.
Gary Sinise. That took forever. And he plays a character named Mother, and that's because he was the mother of the group Sinise does, and it's a phenomenal acting job. He just because he slowly kind of falls apart because he's got PTSD, but this is World War I. We don't know what that is. So he just slowly falls apart throughout the movie, and it's fascinating. And I remember that was one that Dad Gia and I watched after dad had moved to Texas or whatever, and that became sort of a Christmas tradition too. But that's what Donald's referencing, is that particular incident, which was where the Germans and the British on the front line were not moving anywhere, and then Christmas happened, and pretty much everybody decided that they were going to have Christmas instead of have war. And so they all got together and had Christmas. And it actually is referenced in Bregman's book that I keep talking about, Humankind, because he talks about that particular incident and how the German leadership was literally having to threaten the soldiers with death to get them to engage again in the fight. Because after that, they got to know everybody. And they knew all of their soldiers on the other side. And now they have to shoot at them. And neither one of them wanted to do it anymore. And
the last episode of Blackadder goes forth and is evolved around the truce during that fight.
Yep.
As well. And Blackadder's Christmas Carol is awesome. So I'd recommend people should watch that. Because it's the reverse of Scrooge. It's where someone's really nice, but then the spirits convince him he shouldn't be as nice and giving. So
you're too nice.
You're too nice.
You need to not be nice.
It's like this is a really being this nice is a really bad thing for me.
It's cramping our style.
Is that Alex messaging?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Alex sends his love. He will not be making it. I'm
trying to figure out, his whole thing is just cracking me up.
Yeah, but
that whole thing is cracking me up because, of course, it's far worse in his head than it was for us. I'm noticing. We will reference that later.
Yeah,
and he missed out. We had a wonderful discussion about all kinds of bizarre things, as is typical for us.
Well, we have one more episode before the end of our 2023.
Yep, and we should probably figure out.
I was thinking we could rerun our episode where we had my friend John Cowgill on.
I think that'd be awesome.
We had two. There was one where he was on with, I believe, all of us, and then there was one where it was just him and I. So I was going to do the one with all of us and just sort of rerun that one for that day.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. That's a good way to kind of nod out 2023. Yeah. 2023 has not been a very good year.
My high school drama teacher passed away like 6 days ago.
Oh no!
Unexpectedly. So it's one of those.
This is a lousy ass year.
Yeah.
It's just a lousy ass year. I'm over 2023.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually kind of glad to see it go.
2022, I think, prepared me for 2023. So.
Yeah.
But here we are. You know, we just got to keep on chugging along and enjoying life while we have it.
Yeah.
And you got art to do, don't you?
It's time for me to go do art. For better or for worse. I don't know. One could argue any of the above.
Well, sweet. Well, thank you, everybody. Our standard folks who are here every time. Thank you so much for being here. And anybody watching this on repeat, remember, you can join us this time, Monday night, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And you could chat over here and we can make comments about what you say as well.
Yeah.
So learn.
But unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today.
That's true.
Thank you all for joining us. I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
And this is Geek Tank.